is no peace process. And final status negotiations, I always say, have you ever seen an elephant and a mouse together on the table, at the table, talking about mutual peace? Crap to make you, to drown you in information which has nothing to do, not the slightest thing to do with reality. The only point there could be final status negotiations of between a mouse and an elephant, and that's the situation in practice, is if a tiger and a lion sit next to each other, and in the form then of United States, but if that is the tiger, it will be out. So there must be Europe could fulfill the role, and there was just yesterday there was a beautiful suggestion by a chap from Belfast, what we should do about it to arouse European interest. But the chance that it will happen is very small, and maybe Mr. von Krefeld has made a prediction which eventually will be true. I don't know. But it's very difficult to see anything. Why? Because Israel has not the slightest wish to make peace. Sharon he was a man of peace, Bush said. Peace is very ambivalent. If you say, I want an honest peace with my antagonist, it's well used. If you say, oh gosh, let the antagonist go to hell because I want to live in peace, it's a completely different use of the same word. And that is the only use which you should attribute to when the Israelis use it.
Okay, thanks. Also to answer your issue, you were asking about one state and two states. Sorry, not one state and two states, 1967. I hope nobody in this room gets the idea that the Israelis should be dehumanized either. Nobody wants to drive anyone into the sea or anyone into the desert. Sorry.
But look, I'm astonished that you say that, because my thesis is the Israelis should not be dehumanized, but they are dehumanizing themselves by trying to dehumanize the Palestinians and to harass them in a way which is so inhuman. I know how these people are. I have been in Auschwitz, and I know those people, how they look, how they behave, who try to dehumanize a minority which is at their mercy. And sorry, Mr. Chairman, but I'm very much not in agreement with you, because they are not dehumanized by anybody, but they dehumanize themselves, and that will be eventually their downfall. The bad thing is that the Palestinians very probably go along, the Iranians might go along, and some of us might go along.
Okay, so I think so. Gershon from the IJAM wants to come in here.
On this question of driving Jews into the sea, or the fear of there not being a Jewish exclusive state, very similar arguments were made in South Africa, that what will happen to the white population if there's no longer apartheid. And it doesn't feel like either a reality-based question, and nor, in every political movement, in every religion, you have fundamentalists and total extremists. So it's not that's never been said before. Just like in Hebron, you see painted by Jewish extremist groups all Arabs to the gas chambers. But that is not the majority of people. Most people living across Palestine want to live their life. And I think the question for us is, I agree with Hajo, 1 state, 50 states, no state, however that happens, that the principles of it would not include the deportation of Jews living there, but it would include people who want to live with equality, with justice, with actually shared power. If we have anything to learn from South Africa, is that it's not enough just to dismantle apartheid. You also have to create economic equality. You also have to really think about the very likely scenario that even if there was a single state in which Jews and Palestinians live in, that the Jewish minority would maintain economic and military power. And so it's really, I think Palestinians have much more to grapple with on what it would mean to live together in a single state with Jews than Jews have to grapple with. And that's about how you actually change a power relation of total dominance over the Palestinian people. So.
Very good point. So we'll just take a few more questions now. Well, lots more people.
I just wanted to ask the doctor, I visited the museum 2 years ago, the Auschwitz Museum, and the guy brought us around, but there was one thing he didn't speak of because he hadn't got much time. But did you ever hear about how women were picked for the joy division?
So could you... So could you repeat that question again?
I'll cut it short. I just wanted to say, in his experience in the camp, did he ever hear how women were picked for the joy division?
No, look, there was a very strict, in Auschwitz, there was a very strict separation of women and men. I have not seen a women at all. In the camp time, I have not seen a woman, not at all. So I don't know anything about it, and I'm not an avid reader about concentration camp literature. So, no, I read a few. After the war, directly, obviously, I read the Italian, how they do it. Primo Levi, and I read some others, but no, I have not the slightest idea how it goes. I know there were experiments on women, etc., but I don't know anything about it.
Okay, thanks. Next question. Actually, we'll just take them one at a time now.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, it's wonderful that you were able to come and give us that great talk, because I did know that in Israel there were people who opposed the Zionist state. And I only know that through John Pilger. You know John Pilger, the documentary maker and writer?
Yes, yeah.
He had a very good one on Palestine is still the issue, and within that he interviewed a number of people, Israelis, who were totally opposed to what Israel state is doing. And he even, that point you made about the question about into the sea, one of the people he interviewed said, I mean, how ridiculous, as you were saying, here we are, like the fourth strongest nation in the world, and how could we possibly be pushed? It's again, this propaganda thing, so it's wonderful to hear you. And the other point, just one other point, that a relation of mine was recently invited, he's an academic, to Israel at their expense, and they were going to show him exactly the truth. So he said, of course he wouldn't go, but then he said, because I was tempted to go and tell them what I thought of them, and I said, I don't think that's a good idea somehow, when you think of what happens to people. So I hope you're safe. I hope, you're very brave, and thank you so much, Dr. Meyer, for coming.
And actually, to talk a bit more about Jewish opposition to the state of Israel, I just want to. Well, after Dr. Meyer just said, I was going to say a few words about Hajo.
You are absolutely right. There are some very, very good Israelis who are absolutely doing all their best, like